Look, most guys getting into the airgun game think entry level means buying a leaky, unregulated piece of plastic that cannot hold a group at 50 yards, and it costs them hundreds of dollars in wasted lead and sheer frustration. But let us be real. The Turkish manufacturing sector just entirely rewrote the playbook for 2026. You think a beginner rig cannot give you match-grade features right out of the box? You have never seen the CNC-machined absolute tanks rolling out of these factories lately. Stop dropping $2,000 on bare bones European rifles just because you want a reliable regulator and a mouse fart quiet shroud. The landscape has shifted, and the entry-level market is officially conquered. Moving on to number 7, we have the Aselkon MX-10. If you refuse to compromise on the feel of traditional wood, this walnut-stocked bullpup brings premium aesthetics without the massive damage to your wallet. Sitting behind the trigger, you will notice the balance immediately. Pushing those .22 caliber pellets downrange feels incredibly stable for a compact rig. Filling the 200-bar cylinder is a breeze with a standard hand pump, keeping you in the woods longer without lugging around heavy tanks. Here is the mechanical truth about this one. It utilizes a highly specialized magnetic magazine positioning system. Instead of relying on cheap plastic detents that wear out over time, the magnets snap the 12-round rotary magazine perfectly into alignment with the breech. This guarantees that the pellet probe pushes the lead in straight every single time, which stops skirt deformation dead in its tracks and keeps your groups incredibly tight at 50 yards. Squeezing off a shot, the trigger breaks like snapping a fresh icicle, and the report is crisp, echoing like a solid hammer strike on pine. Look, let us talk about the deal breaker. Historically, their quality control has been all over the map. You might pull it out of the box and find a poorly machined scope rail or a slow leak from the air cylinder O-rings. It is an absolute headache if you get a bad batch, so you better inspect it closely before your return window closes. Stepping up the air capacity, we hit number 6, the Hatsan Zylox. Introduced for the 2025 and 2026 hunting seasons, this rig sets you back roughly $499. Throwing .22 caliber lead downrange with serious authority, it is built for guys who want to stay on the glass all day. It boasts an absolutely massive 425 cubic centimeters air cylinder that keeps the high velocity shots coming. Here is the mechanical truth on how it operates. It utilizes a state-of-the-art externally adjustable regulator. Instead of relying on a constantly drop-in pressure curve from the main tank, this system creates a dedicated air plenum right behind the valve that holds the exact same pressure for every single squeeze of the trigger. You can turn the dial up to push heavy slugs, or dial it back for backyard target practice, tuning your energy output perfectly without having to completely depressurize and tear the rifle apart. Rolling the refined side lever backward feels like sliding a steel deadbolt on a heavy bank vault. Smooth, deliberate, and incredibly solid. When that sear drops, the muzzle report barks like a heavy-duty framing nailer, leaving a sharp pneumatic echo in the woods. Listen, I know the traditional firearm guys will doubt this, but a finely tuned and regulated platform like this will absolutely rival your old rimfire at 50 yards. Sound off below in the comments if you have already replaced your standard powder burners with a modern PCP for taking down small game. But let us talk about the real deal breaker here. That enormous cylinder capacity is a total nightmare if you do not own a modern 12-volt portable compressor. Trying to fill this absolute Air Hog from empty with a manual hand pump will leave your arms completely dead before you even look through your optic. Now we are getting into the highly customizable territory with number 5, the Reximex Daystar. This is a versatile entry platform that lets you pick your exact flavor, offering everything from classic Turkish walnut to vibrant laminated stocks. It is a fantastic target shooter and pest control rig, but wait until you see the absolute slug-slinging monster I have waiting for you at number 1. Here is the mechanical truth behind the performance. While it is technically unregulated, it utilizes a highly refined transfer port and balanced valve design that creates a remarkably flat power curve. This means that once you hit the sweet spot of 2,900 pounds per square inch, the internal valve regulates the airflow naturally, giving you 30 to 40 highly consistent shots without needing complex internal regulator O-rings that can dry out and fail. Work in the action feels like sliding a heavy glass door on greased metal tracks, seeding those .22 caliber pellets with zero resistance, dropping the sear snaps with the crisp tension of a snapping guitar string, while the unshrouded muzzle erupts with a sharp, cracking whip that cuts straight through the air. Let us be real about the biggest annoyance though, because it only comes with a factory-fitted air stripper instead of a full shroud. It is obnoxiously loud right out of the box. You are going to be forced to drain your wallet even further to buy an aftermarket silencer for that 1/2 inch UNF thread. Otherwise, your neighbors will be complaining on day 1. Moving into the serious tactical rigs, we lock in number 4, the Niksan Defense Ozark. The street price sits right under $400, and this thing arrives as a complete heavy-duty kit. Niksan refuses to nickel and dime you, throwing in 4 rotary magazines and a rugged hard-shell case right out of the factory. Pushing .22 caliber lead with 32 to 40 foot-pounds of energy, it delivers dead money accuracy on small game out to 40 yards. Here is the mechanical truth that sets it apart. It features an externally adjustable transfer port system. Instead of being locked into a single factory power setting, this dial controls the exact volume of air passing from the valve into the breech. You can restrict the airflow to sip from the 280 cubic centimeter cylinder for all-day backyard plinking, or open the port completely wide to smash heavy pests with maximum pneumatic force. Shouldering the tactical synthetic stock feels incredibly locked in and perfectly balanced. Pulling the trigger gives way like crushing a thin glass vial, and the muzzle report thumps with the heavy blunt force of a dropped phone book hitting a concrete floor. Honestly, there is a glaring design flaw if you're a southpaw. The bolt action on most of these models is completely fixed to the right side and lacks a reversible mechanism. Left-handed shooters will be awkwardly reaching over the action for every single follow-up shot, which totally breaks your cheek weld and ruins your rhythm in the field. Entering the elite tier, we are looking at number 3, the Hatsan Flash RQE. If you are hauling a rifle through the deep woods all day, total weight is your biggest enemy. This minimalist hunting rig strips away the unnecessary bulk, tipping the scales at just under 6 pounds. It is an absolute featherweight platform that throws 177 or 22 caliber pellets downrange with brutal efficiency for dispatching small game. Here is the exact mechanical truth on why this platform is a neighborhood favorite. It utilizes Hatsan's fully shrouded QE system with an integrated sound moderator. Instead of just threading a cheap hollow can onto the muzzle, the barrel sits inside an oversized outer tube filled with internal baffles. When the rifle fires, this massive internal volume captures the turbulent expanding air and strips it away from the pellet before it exits, effectively cutting the acoustic signature by 50%. Pulling the two-stage, fully adjustable Quattro match trigger is a deeply satisfying experience. It breaks with the brittle snap of crushing a dry acorn under a heavy boot. Because of that heavy-duty internal baffling, the muzzle report is completely neutralized. It sounds like a muffled cough behind a closed solid oak door, making it the ultimate stealth rig for taking down pests without the neighbors ever knowing. Let us be real about the primary flaw, though. While cutting the overall mass makes it easy to carry, the minimalist synthetic stock feels incredibly cheap and hollow in the hands. Tapping on the forearm sounds like hitting a thin plastic toy drum, and the factory molding lines along the grip are rough and completely unfinished, making the exterior feel like a budget afterthought despite the regulated internals. Getting incredibly close to the crown, we lock in number 2, the Reximex Zone S. This regulated bullpup completely redefines the mid-range market, packing a massive 22.8-inch precision barrel into a tiny 35.4-inch footprint. It sets you back around $500, and it spits 22 or 25 cal lead with absolute surgical precision, making it an absolute nightmare for pests hiding out in the brush. Here is the mechanical truth about how it dominates the field. It utilizes a factory-tuned, externally monitored regulator with a dual gauge system. Instead of guessing your air usage, one gauge reads the massive 260 cubic centimeters aluminum cylinder holding 3,625 pounds per square inch, while the second gauge shows the exact regulated pressure inside the plenum. This guarantees that every single shot leaves the barrel at the exact same velocity, completely eliminating point of impact shifts and keeping your groups tightly stacked. Tucking this bullpup deep into your shoulder feels like locking in behind the steering wheel of a highly tuned sports car. Dropping the sear on the 4-way adjustable metal trigger brakes like snapping a raw carrot in half. Because it is equipped with the Silent Force active baffling system, the muzzle report is incredibly subdued, sounding like a heavy leather glove slapping a solid wooden workbench. Look, here is the absolute deal breaker if you're not used to this specific layout. The ergonomics of the cocking lever sit way too far back against your cheek weld. Having to pull your face off the stock to cycle the action completely breaks your sight picture, making fast follow-up shots on moving targets practically impossible compared to a forward-mounted side lever. Taking the absolute top spot, we lock in number 1, the Kral Arms Puncher Nish S. This rig is the undisputed king of the entry-level market for 2026, spitting 177 or 22 caliber pellets downrange with total authority. It is a streamlined, rugged workhorse that completely ignores unnecessary, complicated features. Dropping roughly $350 gets you a platform that is fundamentally intuitive, making it the perfect tack driver for dispatching pests without draining your bank account. Here is exactly why it takes the throne. It gives you the massive all-day shot count of the Hatsan Zylox at number 6, but without requiring an expensive 12-volt portable compressor to fill it. And while it lacks the complex factory regulator of the Reximex Zone S at number 2, its power curve is so incredibly flat and predictable that you will not even notice the difference when you are neutralizing small game at 40 yards. Let us dive into the mechanical truth behind its dominance. It utilizes a highly optimized 200-bar air cylinder, which translates to roughly 2,900 psi. Because the maximum fill pressure is kept intentionally low, it is completely friendly to a standard manual hand pump. You get 96 highly consistent shots in .22 caliber per fill, completely eliminating the brutal pumping exhaustion that usually forces new shooters to quit the hobby. Shouldering this rifle feels incredibly natural, resting against your cheek with zero forced strain. Pulling the side lever is practically effortless, and when that sear trips, it gives way like crushing a brittle pine cone under a heavy boot. Handling the air delivery with raw efficiency, the muzzle report snaps like a thick wet towel in an empty garage, delivering brutal kinetic energy downrange with total reliability. Listen, the days of buying a cheap piece of plastic and hoping it hits the paper at 50 yards are completely over. These Turkish rigs are bringing heavy-duty CNC-machined receivers, highly consistent regulators, and massive air capacities straight to the beginner market for 2026. You do not need to drop a massive stack of cash on a European safe queen just to get reliable accuracy anymore. Whether you are pushing heavy lead for pest control or just punching paper in the backyard, these platforms deliver the kinetic energy and precise mechanical valving you need to get the job done right out of the box. Stop listening to the old school guys who tell you to avoid the budget tier, because the technology has evolved and the performance speaks for itself. If you want the raw truth without the marketing fluff, lock it in right here.